This is a show about facing fear, unlocking courage, and taking action.
Courage isn't necessarily a daunting thing.
It's going to give you more purpose. It's going to give you more drive.
It feels like making a courageous decision is going to get you closer to who you aspire to be.
It's knowledge plus faith plus action equals courage.
What didn't land for me was when people would be like, be strong, you're strong. Because it's like, dude, I'm very weak right now, actually. And you have no choice. Like, you're just showing up to do this. I think to do this, you have to be brave. You have to have courage. You got to think about being victorious about it.
This episode makes me happy because it's kind of like, like we're all living chapters in a life. And I don't know about you, but I'm not great at like I did that chapter. I don't need to go back to that chapter. I read that chapter. I lived that chapter. I'm on to the next chapter. But when I flip back to that chapter, I'm like, wow,
we're going back to that chapter. Yeah.
And it's highlighted everywhere. And I have like little footnotes and I'm like, oh, I remember that. Oh, I should do something with that. And I look back at that last life. My guest today was very much part of who I was, but also what's cool is like in the chapter that I'm in, you kind of like see it in somebody else. You're like, I appreciate that you're not in the same chapter you were when we met way back when. And we're both writers. Like we do chapters. That's what we do. But yet here we are way chapters later. And there's been some crazy that's happened, especially for my guest today. So first of all, it's so good to see you and shame on us that it's been this long since we jammed, but you've been a little busy. No?
Yeah, just life kept on happening. It just was a little relentless there for a while. So,
I mean, let's start at the cliffhanger end because I know, and most of my guests don't, most of the listeners don't know, but which I like. So, what's the lesson? What do you think the lesson is from all of this crazy for you?
Are we going to tell everyone about my breast cancer diagnosis that came literally out of nowhere about right now?
I think that's what we just did.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I'm always going to try to look for that lesson. I think that, I've always been a very tough person, always very resilient. And maybe this was just sort of the ultimate test. Like, oh, we know she can handle that. Let's up the ante. Let's give her a real good one now. I think that I also have just, you're only good at one thing. You can talk about being good at that thing, but I've kind of always had this way with words and storytelling, right? And because of that, I have a little bit of a platform, but I really can connect with people. And so what better message to be able to connect effectively with someone other than like be on top of your health and advocate for your health and being a young person going through something that you kind of in your head just imagine happens to old, unhealthy people. It is something that needs to be talked about more and needs to be talked about in a more human way and a more fun. I use that word a little bit loosely, but like in a more fun way than what we've experienced so far in life. So I don't know. I mean, maybe the lesson is just continue to be tough and continue to get through things and be a good example for now I have a son. I didn't have a son then when I was doing other hard things, but being a good example for my child and to be an inspiration for anybody else. Because look, I mean, I'm not a numbers and math person, but the reality is that 1 in 8 people are going to get diagnosed with breast cancer. I mean, I feel like that number is even going lower, right? Like 1 in 6. It just seems like it's everywhere, and especially in younger people. We can all think of 8 people that we know. So someone's going to get it. And for me, maybe I just got it first, right? Or I got it at the youngest. But, this is going to happen. It's part of life. And the more that I can get awareness out about it, I feel like I'm at least doing something with having had to go through, everything I went through. So.
Are we on the other side now of it?
Yeah, I mean,
does that exist?
Yeah, no, for me, I don't think it does. I think there's active treatment and then life after active treatment. So I would say I'm out of active treatment where it was just real hinky there for a while. I mean, by the time I caught my cancer, I had probably had it. They think for about 9 or 10 months, and it was already stage 2 in my lymph nodes. So I was like automatic chemo. And then because I later found out I carried the genetic mutation, the BRCA2 gene, it was like automatic double mastectomy. I was supposed to have 30 rounds of radiation, but I actually had a complete pathological response to chemo, which I attribute honestly to having like that attitude of like, I understood the assignment. Like, let's fucking go. Do I want to do it? No. But do I understand what I need to do? And am I going to do it? Yes. And I think that mentality through it is like what gave me such a great result. So I was able to skip radiation. And then now I'm going to be on a and various anti-cancer medications for 10, 15 years. So
You're reminding me of like this. I'm actually glad this is where we just jumped right into the deep end. Why would we do it? Why would we do anything else? Like, let's just
I
deep
haven't
end.
seen you in almost a decade. Let's just get right to it. Yeah.
But let's also call it what it is. I don't.
Yeah.
I think I love you. I
Yeah.
don't need this. I know you feel the same way about me. I'd love to see you more, but we don't need to see each other to know
No.
that this is pretty easy to pick right up. And
Yeah.
what I like about this convo already, and no surprise, you might remember life before breast cancer. You were the person I turned to as my editor, right, for Return on Courage. You probably don't remember. So first of all, much love, like mad love, mad respect for your perspective, the way you write. Like I'll never forget that, and you'll always be part of the team, right? I don't know if you remember the first chapter of the book, maybe the second chapter max. I
Mhm.
went to Colorado Health. I interviewed the head of oncology, and we talk about how when a company is going down, it's kind of like a corporate cancer. And I had
Mhm.
asked the head of oncology, do you kind of know right away when you meet with someone if
Yeah.
they, like, before medicine's been described, just mentality?
Right.
Can they fight? What's
Right.
going on? What reminded me of this is when you were saying, like, I understood the assignment, and
Yeah.
he's like, he probably couldn't say this on record, but he was like, oh no, right away who goes into poor me mode,
Yep.
and who has the support system, because if you're in poor me mode or you let gravity win, what's that doing? What's that self-talk doing to your body? Do you wonder, or do you think about, I mean, one of my favorite movies, this is like so much about me growing up, was Osmosis Jones. You ever hear this movie? Do you know this
No.
movie?
Mm.
It's more of a dude movie, but basically what it is was it's like it's a cartoon, animated cartoon. Someone got sick, and Osmosis Jones goes into the body, and there's this whole world inside the body, and it's fighting all the bacteria. But you're like two people. You're you, but then there's this whole other you that you're kind of rooting for, and you
Yeah.
want to, like, you don't know how this is. You don't know what's going on in there, if you're going to be able to fight it or not. How did you kind of come to terms with, I hope medicine works. I'm going to do my part. Like, did you talk to your body? You were like, come on, body, let's go, body.
But I'm going to be very honest. I feel like the universe got it right when it paired me with my oncologist. So, I mean, you get the call, right? Like the doctor that I went and I had a breast exam, and that was with my OBGYN, same guy who delivered my son. And he was like, why are you here? You're healthy. Like I had just had a mammogram. We'll talk about that earlier, for no reason other than I just wanted a baseline before 40. Started to kind of hear too many stories of young people getting cancer, and wanted to get one, came back clear, totally unremarkable. 2 days later is when I noticed like a physical symptom, a physical change that I was a little unsure about. And I made an appointment for a breast exam. Again, the whole time they're thinking like, this is nothing. I'm sorry I'm wasting your time, but just, appease me here. And he just sent me for more imaging. Again, we're all like unbothered by this. I'll flash forward, but like ultimately that same person is the one who called me like a week later to say you have stage 2 cancer. And right after that happened, he said, you're going to get a phone call from our nurse navigator, and she's going to walk you through this process and what's going to happen next. It's like I hung up the phone with him, picked up the phone call from the nurse navigator. she's like, okay, we're going to get you in for your oncology appointment. First available is today, 5 p.m. The doctor doesn't want you to have to sit with this and think about it, you know. So I don't know this person. I don't know this oncologist. Didn't have any time to research. I'm just booked with somebody. I don't know what he looks like, whatever. So I show up to that appointment, and it's funny because I dressed up for that appointment. I felt like I should dress up for meeting a person that's going to be saving my life here, hopefully. Like that's something that you should dress up for, right? Like good first impression. So I remember I dressed up for this appointment. I sat in that office, and it's like, again, I don't know his voice. I don't know anything. And like, you have to skip forward about how this person almost becomes like family. But that first meeting of like, who's going to walk through that door? What's he going to look like? What's his attitude? And I just remember the moment he walked in, he brought the energy. He brought the energy. It was like the dark cloud and everything just, it just raised. I don't say it went away, but it wasn't so low. Like he was extremely positive. He was extremely optimistic. He was like, you are a healthy person. You just have this one thing wrong, and we are going to fix it. Like we have a curative plan. Like these are words that were used in that first meeting. And he suspected right away that I had the genetic mutation just based off of some family history stuff. And of course, that was confirmed soon after. But, he was just always sure of himself, always sure of the plan, crystal clear with me with what I was going to need to do. And all the while having like a sense of humor about it. And as soon as I felt like, okay, I know my diagnosis, I know the treatment plan, I know it's curative, I just need to do it. It just changed the game for me. Like it changed my mental. I know this is going to be hard, and I don't know what it's going to feel like. I don't know what chemo is going to feel like. I don't know what it's going to be like to really lose my hair, but I understand point A to point B, and I believe I can do this. And so as this process went on, which I was in chemo for 5 months, so you're going weekly, sometimes more if there's other stuff going on. I see this guy all the time. He becomes family to me, and we can start to joke around, and we can start to have fun. I know that sounds morbid, right? Because at some point you're sitting there, 95 pounds, zero hair, pumping poison through your body, and we're having some laughs before I go into the infusion center. But it was true. So I think I owe it a lot to I never felt the need to get a second opinion. I always loved his personality. It was a great match to mine. It is a great match to mine. We have so much fun. We hug each other for the wins. We're hug each other when we got news we didn't like, and having someone like that in my corner is what did like wonders for the mental game.
When you think about the from to, right? Like you said, at some point you're going to lose your hair. At some point you're going to lose weight, right? Is this a month thing? Is this a 3-month thing? Is this a 5-month thing? How much mental prep went into that versus just like, oh, with God, here we go.
So, it's strange because it's like I have a kid, and when I got that call that I was diagnosed, he was not even 2 years old yet. So he was scribbling, on the floor in my office as I'm taking a call 3 feet away, finding out his mother has breast cancer, and I like for the hair thing, right? It's almost like this unique privilege that I had a kid at that age when this was going on. In some regards, it's awful. And in another world, if someone were to say, hey, would you have had a kid if you knew that you were going to have breast cancer and have to go through this? And would you want to get pregnant and have a not even 2-year-old yet? There's like a world where I would have said no. And then there's the world that we live in, which is like, well, he's here and this is what we're dealing with. But like, for instance, the hair thing is so huge. And I knew right away from my first meeting with my oncologist, there was no chance of saving my hair with the type of chemo that I was getting. It's called the Red Devil. It's the hardest chemo that there is. And there's no version of cold capping or anything that would work for me. So I knew right away hair is coming off. I wanted to get ahead of that process by like taking ownership over shaving my head into a buzz cut so that when the hair started falling out, it wouldn't be like this like long, thick, lovely Jewish hair that I have. So I also didn't want to freak out my kid. I remember when I was like a kid, my dad would shave his mustache and I'd be like, who are you? Like, what just happened? And I didn't want to do that to my kid. So at the same salon that I was just at like 3 weeks before this all went down, getting a trim, where I was like, oh, just an inch, don't take too much off. And now I'm coming back to the same lady and I'm saying, buzz my whole hair. That was like a 3-week difference. And I brought my kid with me and had him sit in the chair next to me. And I had to put that mask on, right? Like, I can't be sobbing, crying, devastated that this is happening, thinking about how it's gonna be 5+ years before my hair ever looks the same. And it's like that for me, if I look back and be like, what was the hardest part of this journey? I'm like, still the hardest part. It's like fucking hair. It's like, it really is. And I'm not even the person that like does their hair. Like, it just represents like no control, like you have no control over this. You are going to have this, and it's not just for a day, it's going to be years until you're back to where it was. I just couldn't even feel those feelings or cry or anything because I had to have this kid next to me and be like, look how fun this is. Oh, don't you want to, like, here's some hair for you. Like, you can play with this. And oh, how fun. And that mask is so on. And because then he could see it all happen. So there was no dramatic before and after. He's watching the process of the hair go away. And it just makes more sense in that toddler mind. And I mean, just like that was such a wow, holy shit moment of my life. I mean, one of the craziest things that's ever happened to me is to sit there and shave my head.
When he's older, he's going to remember that moment?
No, not at all. But,
Okay.
and I'm going to tell you too, like I'm a weird person about like photos. I did not take photos during this time of my life. I mean, I think I could count on like one hand, if that, like how many cell phone pictures I have. I just didn't want to give this the memory. I just didn't need to be recorded. That being said, when I had my last chemo and I knew I was going to ring that bell, I asked somebody to take some pictures of that.
And this was when?
October 22nd of 2023. So I was diagnosed July 23rd or 24th of 23. Chemo didn't end until December. So a few days before Christmas. But I had somebody come and take photos of me. And the ringing the bell takes it's like less than a minute situation. And it's like these photos are pretty incredible, and I put them in a book. I spent the money, I had a nice book made for them. That book lives in the closet behind me and it's not coming out. And I chronicled kind of like what's happening. Like, this is the hardest thing I ever did. And it's for my son. It's like, he won't remember this. And someday, it could be something we never even talk about. We will, but it could be this distant thing. I just want him to know that I did this hard thing. He can do a hard thing. And like, I don't know, I think that's the message of like, life is crazy.
It's For My Son is a good book title, which is a nice segue into, life before BC. We'll call it life,
Yeah.
right? Life before BC. Can you share what type of writer you were? Can you give a 5-minute spiel?
Sure. And I still am this person. I write women's fiction, upmarket women's fiction. So my writing career started with a memoir. Obviously, that's not fiction, but it was sort of this book of like trialing things in your 20s. And every chapter was sort of this lesson of figuring it out until ultimately there was like this great big lesson. And I think still it's like the Bible for that 20-something age. And even though so much has changed since then, because I wrote that in a time where it's like there really wasn't a lot of social media. There wasn't even a lot of smartphones, but you can kind of take the same lessons and apply them today, just the same way someone from 50 years earlier could read that and be like, oh yeah, like we have a version of this too back in our day. So that book is called 86. And then I got a lot of local press in Chicago. It was written about in Michigan Avenue magazine, a big spread about it. And then my now agent was like, I don't rep memoir, but if you have something that's like commercial women's fiction ever, I would love to read it. And then wrote my next book, which was called Hot Mess. And it was about, this girl in her 20s going through the restaurant industry in Chicago, hot chef, drug addict hot chef, and picking up the pieces where he kind of falls off, and strong female friendships pulling it together. And she, read that manuscript, called me 2 weeks later, signed me. I've been with her ever since. That's been like a decade at this point. So she sold Hot Mess along with a book called Husband Material, which is set in Los Angeles. That's about a young widow, so a girl who gets married, loses her husband very unexpectedly in the first year of their marriage. Flash forward 5 years later, she's trying to move on in with her life. And his ashes show back up at her door. And she's got to figure out, reprocess things while also trying to have one foot in her current life, one foot in her old life. And it's on the light side of heavy, right? And then what happened was those were my 2 books with my book deal. And my kind of third book that I wrote was right about the time of the pandemic. And I turned it into my editor. And it was a book about a co-working space. And we literally just had a 2-week shutdown. And she read it and she loved it. We made some edits. We aged up some characters. And then it came back and they said, you know what? We have to shelve this because none of us are working from the office anymore. We don't know if we're ever going back to the office. Co-working could be like, wait, what's co-working? Like when this book comes, books take a while to come out, right? It could be a year or 2 later. People are like, co-working. Oh, remember that, So I was like, well, what then do you want me to work on? And she was like, maybe like a witchy rom-com. We're in the middle of a global pandemic. Just write about witches and, wizards and like, it's like, okay, got it. Sounds amazing. So I completely pivoted and I wrote this book, which just came out last month called Sort of Seeing Someone. And it's about this young girl. I'm not going to call her a witch because she's not, but she has like a little something extra. She's kind of like this woo-woo, kind of in touch with this metaphysical. And of course, she falls for a guy who's like an engineer. Book is set in Ocean Beach, California, as well as her other place, Chicago. And she kind of goes back and forth between the two. But when I was in San Diego, that's where I lived.
By broom or not by broom?
By broom.
I mean, she's a witch. Oh,
Yeah,
she's not a witch. Sorry, she's not a witch.
But she, she kind of has this life in San Diego that starts to fall apart. So she goes back to live with her family in Chicago. And then she's like, no, man, like Ocean Beach is home. That's where I belong. And she ultimately finds her way back there. But it's like this kind of opposites attract trope, but very sophisticated and witty women's fiction. Honestly, it's my highest rated book so far. I have had this book for 5 years. I started it in the pandemic. I then got pregnant. I then had a baby and I then had breast cancer. And all of that completely sidelined my production schedule. And I had basically couldn't commit to any real semblance of like when I could do media. I mean, when you want your book, like you want to look your best, feel your best, not have impromptu hospitalizations. Like there was never going to be a good time for this book to come out until I finally was like, just let's do it. Let's just get it out. And it came out, basically out of, I get every vision I have for like, oh, it'll come out during October when it's Halloween and I'm going to be healthy and I'm going to be on this. It's like I had 2 hospitalizations. It's spring. It's like it was whatever. I'm like, we just got to get it out. There's always going to be something at this point. And it just felt so great to get it out. But I've had this book with me for 5 years. And just in the last like 6 to 10 months is when I went really back in it, updated all those pop culture references, sharpened it so well. And it was like, wow, I really, really love this book. And I mean, everyone who's followed my writing career is like, I love this one. Like I think this is the best yet. And that's an amazing feeling to like, feel like it's landing even after all of this life got in the way. It's like being able to remind myself like, hey, I still got that. Chemo F's with your brain so much. Like your mental acuity just drops. You forget everything. You're so foggy. It's a real thing and it can last for years. And I definitely felt like there may never be another time when I write again. Like, I truly don't know if I'll be able to like come up with an intelligent thought. And I'm just like, so, so glad that everything like landed where it is and rebounded. And, I've been packing up book orders the last couple of weeks and I do all of that stuff myself still. And I just like, not a second of that is lost on me. Like I'm sitting there cutting the ribbon, tying it around the book. I'm writing all my addresses out. I'm like stuffing the envelopes. I'm writing the cards. I'm packing the crystals in the little baggie. And like, it takes me all day. And I'm just like so happy to be doing that mundane stuff and like run into the post office 5 times a day. Like, I'm just so glad to be back in that way.
I mean, in your mind, how much of that, of the mundane, right, which we take for granted, was there, how much joy is there a joy multiplier, I guess, when you go through what you've gone through, when you just get back to like the train's now on the track, here we go. Is that what this is?
It's like, it completely feels like, I mean, life will never be the same, but to be able to be like, okay, everyone who's been following this journey of me being like sick and incapacitated, essentially, try to see me again as that person you originally connected to, that's this great writer and storyteller. And like, I don't want to be looked at any different anymore. Like, I would love people to be like, damn, she's still got it. I still love her books, not because she had breast cancer. I like, this is like, her work is just so great and she's my favorite author. Like, that's the stuff I want. I don't want the pity, like, oh yeah, she's been through so much, I'm going to buy her book. I want someone to just be like so excited about the work and forget that I had breast cancer. Makes me feel myself again.
I kind of feel like I have good news and bad news on that one. Right? This is like
Mm,
the courageous moment of the courageous podcast, right?
yeah.
Well, the fact is, that's probably not the case. Like, you did go through something ridiculous. It's not something that should be. I'm not saying you're burying it or putting it away, or you just want to be. I just want to be looked at for the quality of the work. Oh, I'm sure I've said that myself, right? But like, the fact is, you're not that person anymore. There's more to you from what you've gone through that may, and sometimes, and just like classic storytelling, it takes a colossal load, right? The roller coaster of a massive high, right? It just multiplies the joy. But I'm certain that, one, I hear you on the could I ever do this again, which is fear. But as an outsider, that muscle will only get better and better, because like the more you do it, the better you get. And I know maybe it doesn't feel like that sometimes, but that's how I at least see it. Do what you need to do to drive yourself, right? But like, but then also, I'm sure that there's empathy for you as a writer. It isn't just the title that's leading anymore. It's you as the writer and the empathy of owning and embracing your own story. And I I moved to California. I joke I moved here to write movies, not live one. If you would have asked me to write down a list of 100 things I thought I would be doing, taking stages and help, like having a podcast and writing a newsletter. I mean, or even like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Do you think there's a chance I put the word courageous on my top 100 list? Like, zero chance. But like, this is where we are. So like, I'm sure for you, I'm actually, let's as a writer, I know there's other stories in there. How do you know which stories to put your energy towards and which ones you got to bench? How do you go about that?
I mean, I think like how you're creative. So like you've had those like light bulb moments where like you're probably going to bed or something and you're like, oh my God, that's the tagline. That's whatever. And you're just like, I hope I don't forget this in the morning because it was so good. It's the same way I feel like, I mean, my eyes are always open. Like I'm always like, that could be a book. That could be a book. Like, oh, I love that. But there's always like the one or two that are, yeah, that's it. And like, I'm already working on that one for me. That's like my next step here. And to be honest, like I mentioned, I started writing this book 5 years ago, a different place and time of my life. And it's like a cute but sophisticated rom-com. I don't know if I'm going to do another rom-com. I still often like see the idea like, oh yeah, I love this like wedding singer thing. Yeah, okay, I can see that. But I'm ready to move on to something like literary, still like clever and witty, but just like older. Like I'm older. I've seen some stuff. Like I'm ready to sort of age up my characters and
Well,
age up.
there you go. Like, this is a great example. This is kind of where I'm going. Like, like you said, there's like a notebook of a picture of you that's buried in your closet, but like, that's be
Mhm.
realistic. Like, how does that experience that is aging up, isn't it? Aren't there stories, complicated stories like that make up a bigger story? And so,
Yeah.
do you see yourself, or are you considering using, maybe not the literal version of, but the lessons that have come from this last adventure, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Will that end up in your
Yeah.
stories?
So there's a project that so there's two projects I'm working on. One is fiction, one is nonfiction. And the nonfiction one, it is, and I haven't told a lot of people about this, but for me, I had chemos every Friday. So every Thursday, my husband would take our son to work with him at night and give me that time to do whatever I needed to do to get mentally ready for the next day. And I would find this routine of getting some fast food, like some sort of, Chipotle or something, bring it home, put it on my desk, and hit the pages. And what I wanted to do was chronicle my experience as it was happening. And, and a lot of people would give me breast cancer memoirs and I would just end up stopping reading them because they're scary and they're like often written from the other side looking back. And when you're looking back, you either have the gift of hindsight or you have warped these really traumatic things into whatever reality they're in, like describing a surgery or something like that. It's like there's a filter on it because it's not in the moment, it's after the trauma. And so I would read these things and it would just scare me. Like, I have to have this life-saving surgery, but I'm reading this woman's memoir about it and it's frightening me. So it's not doing me any good. I wanted to write about my experience, but I don't want hindsight. I don't want things distorted. And so I would write these entries as things were happening in real time. And the thing about it is the way that I write my fiction, which is like that voicey, almost like we're just sitting there talking, is how I wrote these. And they are funny. Most of them have some humor in them, dark humor, but humor. It's the stuff that I would text my girlfriends in the group chat. And that's what's really missing is that there's not a breast cancer memoir or anything of the sort that comes from a young person, number one, this is the demographic where it's on the rise the most. I'm not a celebrity that's writing about her experience. I'm a normal person that this can happen to anyone. And there's humor there. There's like, you gotta sometimes just laugh. Now, granted, there are some major lows and we talk about those, and there's some major highs and there's everything in between. But I wrote this book as like, I don't know if this will go anywhere. I don't know if this will be, I want it to be commercial. I don't want it to feel like my Dear Diary where it's like just very, dumping of emotions and venting. I want this to be anybody who would read this would be touched by this. You're not alienating. You don't have to have gone through this experience. That is currently with my editor. The same person who edited Hot Mess is editing that book right now. So she's a little behind because I was supposed to have it back on the 30th of March and I don't have it yet. So I'm not going to pressure her because it's a big lift. It's like my complete honor to have same person who sort of plucked me out of a slush pile of manuscripts and gave me this platform with the Big Five is the same person that's editing this incredibly personal piece of work. But I'm very excited to see how she comes back because we have really great creative direction chemistry. Like, I loved her edits. I loved resolving those. So I'm really excited to just take it to the next level. And I know my agent will sell that. So that is
not only that, I'm going to make a prediction that is not going to be small. And I know you do, like you said, creatives are going to know other creatives. And I'm sure there is a superpower of just like controlling what you can control, right? Like, just stay locked in on the funny or locked in on the right. Like, why am I laughing at this very serious moment? Yes,
yeah,
that's the point. That is the point. And so,
like, I'm human, and there was really funny shit that happened during this too.
Right.
I mean, I feel like if I wrote it from the other side, though, you'd be so tempted to just talk about the doom and gloom of it.
What did you say? You said I'm blowing it. You said the hindsight of, what was it? What was your line?
Like the gift of hindsight. Like you
gift
get
of
to
hindsight
and be like, oh, well, I thought it was
Yeah.
going to be like this, but it really was like this. Like, I want to know how I felt in that moment. Like,
the gift of hindsight sounds very much like I woke up at 4 a.m. and like, let me make sure let me send that to myself in an email. I like that. I could see you talking about that. I mean, I don't have a crystal ball, nor are you asking me, but I don't see how a lot more people don't get to know you from this story, because really it's a story about bad shit happens to everybody. You have a choice how you respond to it, whether it's cancer or, ashes show up at your doorstep or right, you got fired or things aren't going the way you want. And where I think why we're probably still connected is that, it's up to you how you choose to show up every day. That, to me, that's what I love about the book. Like, if you told me that you'd be on Good Morning America, I really could see that off of this, and the message is that big, and good for you. And I'm glad. I was worried. I'm really like that. You put this whole chapter in that closet behind you. It doesn't sound like you have. Do you remember I talked about negative blessings? Does that ring a bell off to you?
Keep talking.
Well, it's okay. I'm trying to do this in a way that
Oh, no,
doesn't.
I think I do know this. Where,
Yeah.
yeah, like, it's not the greatest, but there's, like, a gift about it. Yeah.
Yes. And so, again, in the spirit of not just shamelessly promoting my shit here, right? But like, it's interesting to you just live through a ton of material
Yeah.
that is a negative blessing that will help a ton of people. And more than that, you created a time capsule for your child
Yeah.
that will look back at this and hopefully will, if he so
Yeah.
chooses, has a timeline of how do you choose to live your life. So are you in Chicago? You're in Chicago, right?
Yeah.
Do you miss Ocean Beach?
Yeah, I mean, I really do miss San Diego. It's like, I think a big lesson for me because I was like living there at the time because of a relationship I was in. Obviously, like that's how I wound up there. And I said, I haven't had like this reason to go back. But I think the lesson there is like, I feel like everybody at some point in their lives needs to like move to like do something like that. Like you live in Chicago, Chicago's awesome. Move across the country, live for 2 years somewhere completely else, move somewhere where you see seals on your morning walk and that's normal. Like, I just, it's
Navy
like,
SEALs or actual SEALs or both?
well, both, but I'm talking about actual seals. It's like I have really fond memories of that, even though like I was there for a relationship that ultimately didn't work out. It was just a great experience though to like be in another part of the country, see how that and it like it gave me so much creative fodder. I mean, I set this book there and I remember things so clearly and there's so many scenes in there that it's like the house she lives in that she rents there is the house I was in and the landlord is the landlord I had and the places she likes to eat are the places I like to eat. And I don't think anything has changed even though it's been like, 8 to 10 years. So, that's sort of like my lesson.
That's
It's like
Ocean Beach for you. That's
you
Ocean Beach. Starbucks went in and people like were not happy,
well,
not
yeah, I think
happy.
it's insane. No, yeah, but
So is this your way of confirming you are a witch? Is that what you're basically suggesting here?
I may have a little special gift. I mean, I think like every time I have a new book, I think, what am I going to write in it when when I sign copies? And then like, what's that one thing? And then for me, it's been like, well, I write a note card with all of them and I say like, thank you for seeing the magic in me or magic in my writing. And then, the message with this book is like, find the magic within you. And that's like the same thing that my character did. Whether you believe in the woo-woo stuff or not, everybody has some sort of a gift and some sort of a quote special power. So, you got to be in tune with that and work it and be you.
I have two final cues, and then
Mhm.
you get your life back. So
Mhm.
one, you said there's two projects you're working on.
Yeah.
Give us the 1 minute on the other one.
Okay. The other one is a work of fiction. It's told through multiple perspectives. The title is so good that I can't tell you because without it being out yet, I don't want someone to steal it and put out a book with the same. Every day I'm like checking publishers' announcements and I'm being like, did someone, okay, good. Okay, good. Still got it.
Do you have the
Um,
URL? Do you have the URL?
and not for the book. I want to trademark the title so bad though. But basically it's 4 women who live in New York City that do not know each other and wind up at a table at a nice restaurant very randomly. Like they all
Nice.
one for one reason or another, they all wind up at this restaurant and their dining partner, their dining plans fell apart. So they sit at the table together and it's 4
Awesome.
strangers and then they become, a squad.
Okay. So it's called
So
For Strangers. I got it. Yep. Okay.
yeah,
So
and
should
it's told through each of those perspectives. And I have not done a book besides single perspective female protagonists. So for me to switch gears and be like, now I'm writing from the 42-year-old lesbian, and now I'm writing from the 25-year-old door dasher, and now I'm writing from the influencer that's crazy big on TikTok. It's like it's a whole new level of like how do you keep things straight?
do you have to go, like, will you go to New York City and spend a weekend and like you actually need to go sit in that place, or
So
can you
I
do
feel
it
like
from
I only write
Chicago?
about places that I have already some knowledge of, like lived in Ocean Beach, can write about Ocean Beach, live in Chicago, whatever. So I've been going to New York City like my whole life. My family, all my cousins and stuff live in the city. Some live in Brooklyn, some live in Manhattan. So I feel like I had a good grasp on like geography and like I'm inventing this restaurant and I can kind of frame it off of like restaurants I've been to there and I know all the trains and all that stuff so I can make like intelligent, when it comes time to it though, I feel like I'll have some sort of readers and accuracy and sensitivity and all that stuff, make sure that it feels right, but I can kind of get the story going where it needs to be now. When you have like a platform like this, like you kind of just, you need to make sure you've got the basics down. And that's, same with like husband material when we're talking about her being a young widow. I don't know what that's like. So, I did my damn research on that before I put that book out. And like,
Yeah.
I spent curating focus groups and everything to get that right. So same thing, like I wouldn't just put something out unless I knew what I was talking about.
When you first started describing like 4 women in New York, I'm like, oh, Sex in the City. Seen that one. Nope. I really like the 4 strangers approach where something happened to each of them, and the next thing you know,
A wistful thing, like how does
Yeah.
this interaction now change the course of all these people's lives and stuff?
Yeah.
So really, really, really excited about it. My agent is like so harping on me, like, when is this gonna be done? How's it going? Make sure you send it to me right away. I'm like, oh my God, I'm kind of getting that season now where it's like I need to pull the laptop out every night and like find the time to do, a
Yeah.
little, yeah.
This might be a very morbid way of getting there, but really it's a one creative
Yeah.
talking to another. So like, let's say there's no more chapters left in the story of your life, which of course there are going to be. I'm an optimist, but like for the spirit of this, and we had to name the book of your life.
Yeah.
What's the title?
Diet Coke and True Grit.
Tell me you've clearly thought about this before.
I mean, it's just kind of like when people are like, how do you get through stuff? I don't know. Like, so my saying is often, I don't know how, but something within me does. So I don't know if that could be the title or not, but
No, I
that's
like
kind
the
of how-
Diet Coke and True Grit because Coke will pay for it. Like, let's make a phone call,
Diet
right?
Coke could give me a sponsorship. That would be great. But yeah, I mean, it's really like a simple pleasure that, and just grinning and bearing it. And that's it. That's like a very simple person. Need much to kind of get through things. I
don't see it as simple person. I see it like, again, I can't help but like jump into the shoes of the people who love you the most. My takeaway on that, it's like, find what you like, do that,
yeah.
but also be prepared for the juxtaposition of the heavy,
Yeah. That's right.
right? And
Yeah,
you do the
I think
heavy, you do the heavy to get to the light, and you do the
Right.
light sometimes to get you to the heavy. And it's
Yeah.
like which came first, right? But
Right.
no, it's sort of both.
I have one question for you. I should have asked it earlier, but I'm always very curious about the people who like, when I found out that I had breast cancer, I kept it very tight, very close. And I only told obviously in my immediate family and like 2 best friends. That's it. And then it was about 100 days later is when I was like, kind of getting to the end of October, which is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And I was like, I need to shit or get off the pot here because I do feel like there's a purpose of sharing your story, but I also didn't want to really open the floodgates. I wasn't really ready for that. But ultimately, I did decide to share it, day before Halloween or something like that. And I'm just curious because, you obviously weren't one of the 2 girlfriends I texted or not texted, 2 of the 2 girlfriends that like got that personal phone call from me, right? So you found out when everyone else found out, which is one day this post just shows up on your feed.
Yeah.
Do you remember seeing that? And what was that like for you? Because I've been in the other position before my diagnosis where I would see someone's posts and about their terrible news. And I'm not super day-to-day close with them, but Jesus Christ, that rocked me. And I'm just curious. I like to kind of ask that question, do you remember seeing that? What was your first thought?
Yeah. I mean, I have an image. I definitely don't know if it was your first post or when a post landed in my feed,
Yeah.
but I remember a post of you didn't have hair and you were sharing, and I remember being like somewhere between WTF.
Mm-hmm.
I remember being like, you can't like not. And again, I don't remember. Like I don't remember if you were like, I'm in it or I'm beating it, or I don't remember what you shared of that. Right. I don't have the context memory. I just remember like, I honestly think what I remember most was like, as a kindred spirit of yours, I was wondering if it's like, I'm like, oh my gosh, she's going to be okay. She's going to fight this. And like, this is the universe doing what the universe does. And it's like this explosion of material and stuff. I never actually thought that, like, the knock on wood moment. I never thought that it was going to go wildly south. I actually, and maybe this is like my own crazy optimistic side, I saw the glass half full on for you, but I remember being like, also at the same time, that somebody young, and again, if it wasn't for the hairless shot, we kind of look like twins, except you were much skinnier than me, right? I'm like, but so I remember that moment, and I almost feel I can't remember if my personality would have been to immediately DM you.
Mhm.
So I don't remember if I did that or didn't do that for whatever
I mean,
reason.
I was like, the floodgates like open, like I said, and it was like that was something I was toying with for a long time because I didn't really want that, but I knew it comes with the territory of sharing, and I knew sharing was ultimately going to save lives, and that's what I had to do. So I can't remember who said what and when, but I just remember being in that position of like scrolling, and then you're just like, you find out something happens to someone, and it's like the last person you think that was gonna happen to. Like, you're gonna expect me to
Yeah.
talk about a book or a place I was traveling or my toddler or something, and then it's just like, "Oh, shit. Wow. Like, that person has cancer. Wow." Like, it's just I still think that that's the hardest part for me to wrap my head around, like, that this happened to me, but I always like to ask, like, how it felt to see that
Yeah,
come out of.
I don't think that other than the immediate oh shit moment, but I also like I'm a weird dude. Like, I can't help but be like, I mean, for being an optimist, the clock is ticking for all of us, right? And so like, it's like, I how can I be in service of others,
Mhm,
right? And that's not a line. It's just like,
mhm.
I love that. Like, look, it's so like great example. If someone is still here listening to us, like, and a lot of listeners know this, like, there's something about this topic that they should
Right,
explore more. They should
right.
explore, why are you still here? Why are you still listening? Like, what is it about Emily that's her story lights you up? Is it that you shouldn't have to wait to hear you have cancer to go fucking go for it,
Yeah.
right?
Don't yeah.
Right? Like, or maybe it's okay. What would life be like for you, or maybe someone does have is
Mhm.
going through cancer, and it's I'll only speak. This is almost a cliche for my gender. We're
Yeah,
horrific with
yeah.
communication. Like,
Right.
we don't know.
Totally.
We know good at communicate. Like we're not good at. So like, if we're giving me tools to better connect with someone you care about or love
Yeah,
when they're
sure.
going through something that you have so out of your control, right? So that, I mean, again, I'm rambling a little bit, but I definitely remember seeing it. I definitely remember being like, oh my God, I feel like my personality would have been, and maybe I didn't because it's like were going to be flooded, but it was more like, wow, the universe for some reason
Mhm.
and I love hearing, and I'm not surprised. Well, obviously, I'm happy you're like, you're to the next phase of this,
Right, right,
right?
right, right.
But that you chose to like find your sideways version of bringing
Mhm.
some light and joy
Totally.
to a really heavy topic. Do you feel that this series of where life happened to you, but also where you're taking it to life, do you feel courageous? Do you feel like does that word land for you?
Yeah. Yeah, I think what didn't land for me was when people would be like, "Be strong. You're strong." Because it's like, dude, I'm very weak right now, actually, and you have no choice. Like, you're just showing up to do this. But I think being brave to do this. You have to be brave. You have to have courage, and you got to think about being victorious about it. Like, I don't like the word like I fought and I won. I like the idea of like this situation, I'm victorious in that.
All right, let's not let like
A
however
million
many
years.
years. Yeah, let's not do that again.
Okay,
And
deal.
I'm so proud of you and impressed by you, and the world needs your stories, and your family needs you, and all the good things. Keep doing what you're doing, and If you come back to Ocean Beach, I will meet you for fish tacos.
Beautiful. Cali burrito. I mean,
I'm going upstairs. I mean, I still love, what is it, South Beach?
the one
South
right there
Beach.
on Flutter, yeah, and like with the lighthouse ice
yeah.
cream next. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry, but that's my happy places. A fried oyster taco, some good guac, a beer, a sunset.
Yep.
All right, my treat when you're coming back.
Beautiful. I'll be in touch. I'll hold you to it.
Congrats. Keep going.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Courageous Podcast. If you enjoy the show, don't forget to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts so more people can find us. See you again next week.